Today, we're diving into a really fascinating idea that completely reframes the conversation around gender equality. It's not about conflict. Instead, it's presented as a kind of solvable equation, a blueprint designed for everyone to succeed together. So let's unroll this thing and see exactly how all the pieces fit. Just start with this question. What if it wasn't a zero-sum game, a battle with winners and losers? What if it was a formula we could engineer? A system where everyone, and I mean everyone, flourishes together. That shift in perspective right there, it's the key to everything we're about to talk about.
Okay, so before we can get to any kind of solution, we have to get really clear on the problem, right? The source material calls this the imbalance equation. We've got to figure out what we're actually trying to solve for.
So the problem gets a name, delta. You can think of it as this tangible force, like a drag chute on a race car, slowing society down. And you can actually see its effects in the real world. Things like falling birth rates or wages that just won't budge. These aren't isolated issues. They're symptoms of this larger imbalance.
So, if delta's the problem, what's the fix? Well, this is where we get into the blueprint itself. It introduces a totally new and honestly pretty ambitious equation for what societal success could look like. And the goal is beautifully simple. M equals F. That stands for mutual flourishing. And the most important part of this is that it's not about taking a fixed pie and slicing it up differently. The whole idea is to create a much bigger pie, where parity actually makes everyone's well-being go up. It's a win-win.
Okay, so how in the world do we achieve M equals F? The blueprint lays out these four, what it calls symmetric levers. You've got education, economic equity, family supports, and cultural norms. And here's the kicker. You have to pull them all in concert. Pushing just one lever won't work. You need all four moving together to get that balance right.
That all sounds great in theory, but what does it actually look like in practice? On a huge scale. Let's zoom out for a second and look at the national roadmap that's laid out for governments and big institutions. The strategy is super methodical. It's called crawl, walk, run, which I love. First, you crawl. You take a hard look at the problems and you pilot one small solution in one place. Then you walk. You take what worked and you scale it up. And finally, you run. You embed the whole framework into national policy. It's a long-term plan based on what actually works. Just to make this really concrete, here's what a crawl phase could look like. Imagine a government pilots paid shared leave policies. That's the family supports lever. In just one city. The goal isn't to get it perfect overnight. It's about hitting a clear, measurable target, like getting 70% of families in that area to have access.
And this right here is a perfect example of what the blueprint calls the principle of mutual ties. It's designed so everybody wins. For women, it helps protect their career path. For men, it creates that crucial time to bond with their kids. See, it's not a benefit for just one group. It's a structural support for the entire family.
All right, a national plan is fantastic. But let's bring this down to earth. What can you or I actually do? Well, this community action guide is all about how this huge vision can be built from the ground up, starting with us. And what's so cool is that it mirrors the exact same crawl, walk, run strategy, but for our own lives. You start small, crawl, by just looking at your own situation and trying out one new shared habit. Then you walk by bringing it into your family or your work team. And eventually, you run, as these things just become a natural, reflexive part of how you live. And if you're sitting there thinking, okay, but where do I even begin? Here are some super simple but really powerful ideas for your own personal crawl phase. You could just audit how tasks are balanced at home, or create a shared budget for mutual goals, or even just make a point to gently challenge biased comments when you hear them. They're all small, doable steps. So now we have these two huge ideas, right? This big macro-level national plan and these small micro-level personal actions. How do they actually connect? How do they work together to create real change? Well, the thing is, they're two sides of the same coin. Think of it like a garden. The national policy is the trellis. It provides the structure, it glues everything together. But our daily actions? That's the water on the roots. You absolutely need both if you want anything to grow strong and really, truly flourish. Now, to keep all of this from feeling totally overwhelming, the blueprint introduces this brilliant little guiding idea. They call it the Indiana Jones principle. From the movies. You progress one verified stone at a time. You make absolutely sure that each step, whether it's a new law or a new family habit, is stable and secure before you even think about taking the next one. This quote really just says it all, doesn't it? It's not about making some giant, risky leap of faith. It's about steady, deliberate, and proven progress. One verified stone at a time.
And that really leaves us with a final question, doesn't it? A question for all of society, but also for each of us personally. With all these different paths and all these possible steps we can take, the most important decision is simply this one. Which stone are we going to move first?